Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I am your host, Sean and Marc, here with me, as always, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And yes, well, we don't have a bunch of games to talk about this week, but there's a lot of news to talk about this week. The Game Awards, we will get to do basically like a morning after review next week because the Game Awards is on Thursday night, probably going to go a while. So because this is the last show that we're going to be able to do before the Game Awards, we're going to do our predictions of who we think will win and who we think is like we want to see win the awards. And then I'll talk about some. I'm going to put my phone on silent so we don't have phone sounds during this. But we'll talk about the PC Most Wanted gaming showcase that just happened a little bit there. They did announce some cool games on that. Microsoft's CFO Tim Stuart had a lot to say about the direction of Xbox now that the Activision Blizzard King thing is over, and Phil Spencer even announced that they are a mobile gaming store might be coming from Microsoft closer than you think. And there's a lot more to talk about as well. Dragon's Dogma 2 had a showcase and some other things as well. So we'll get all into many of those things right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right. Well, as we do each week, let's just go ahead and get the housekeeping stuff out of the way here so we can get to talking about stuff. Of course, this is your first time listening or 100th time listening. We do appreciate you. Thank you so much. Whether you watch live on the YouTube channel, W2 Network, or on Twitch, W2 Network, or on Facebook. Same thing. We're usually doing the show around the 12:30-ish time on Fridays. And like I said, next week we'll be doing our review of the Game Awards 2023, what they announced and everything else. But we'll get into all that in a little bit here. Also, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you not only get what we do here at Video Games to the Max, if you like entertainment stuff, you like movies and TV, we got that handled as well. The Rylerton Broadcasting folks, they did a great job, and they just did a review of the Thanksgiving movie. So if you're interested in that, you can go watch that or listen to that. And they do everything. They don't just do like a review of the film. They break down everything, what it could make money wise, all that stuff. So it's a very in-depth thing. They also did a review of the Upload Season 3 and some other things on there. Todd Takeiki's doing their usual talking about all the anime that's happening. The new anime that's been coming out for the fall season as we're getting towards the end of the year. It's amazing. This is December 1st. We're already in the last month of 2023. Crazy, Mark, that we're there. So yes, that's it. Let's get into this housekeeping. Oh, don't forget, you can also listen with your ears on podcasts or just search Video Games to the Max wherever it is, as long with the other two shows, and you can subscribe there and get whenever we do a show. So moving on, let's talk about, I guess we don't really have, I think you only have like Hogwarts Legacy, and I do have, it's technically a new game, but I'm talking about the demo of it. So it's not necessarily technically the same thing. So we'll leave the gaming stuff to the end, or go ahead.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
We'll do news and then I'll intersperse it before we get to the predictions. But yeah, let's I guess talk about this Xbox thing, which I feel like is a little bit overblown because it's kind of the same thing that they've been saying for a while. It's just you have the money man saying it, so it's making people get all up in arms about it. But if you haven't been paying attention, Tim Stuart, Microsoft CFO, went on a webcast and talked about a variety of different things concerning Microsoft, especially now that the whole Activision Blizzard King thing is done and dusted, and they now can move forward of what the company is going to be now after that. He talks about things like why they don't announce numbers, why they are deciding to go towards mobile, things like that. But kind of the one that sparked everybody's ire is he talks about basically they want Activision Blizzard games and virtually Xbox first party games to be anywhere that there are screens. This includes TV, this includes mobile devices, even things that we would have thought as our competitors in the past, like PlayStation and Nintendo. We're going to NVIDIA GeForce Now, which Call of Duty just showed up on NVIDIA GeForce Now, so they are making they are living up to that promise. A lot of talk now because they mentioned that Xbox is going third party, the consoles are going away, let's all go crazy and doom and gloom. Where,
I mean,
yeah,
that's dumb. Like,
yeah,
I hate to say it, look at like the trajectory of Sega. They had one extremely profitable console, 2 or 3 that weren't, and then the Dreamcast died a very quick death, even though it was, a decent console. But they're probably better today than they were, when they were making shit, or making, the 32X or the Sega Saturn. Like,
right.
yeah, like I fully expect to see. I don't expect to see. I think I would like to see Microsoft do the same thing, because they've made 4 consoles. Arguably, only one of them has been successful,
Right.
and even not that successful. I mean, in the grand scheme, it's successful, but like it wasn't like the leader of the generation or anything. So
It was for a large portion of it.
yeah,
And
you're right. I mean, yeah, it was for like the first 5 years, and then
yeah,
they eventually caught up. But like the Xbox One, kind of a failure. The various Series X's and S's.
oh, Xbox One was a failure. I don't think there's any way to put that in any other context other than it failed. You failed it even worse by bundling it with Kinect.
Right.
So the Series X is a positive, right? Scott, Sis Scott's also watching live, so I appreciate him watching, and he's commenting. He's saying that imagine us not having Like a Dragon games because Sega decided to double down on hardware instead of software. It's true. Yeah, Sega could have ran itself out of business if it kept trying to push consoles.
They made Dreamcast 2, or here's dumb shit like that. But they realized, like, hey, we can't compete with Sony and Sony and Nintendo. I mean, Microsoft wasn't even part of the equation back then, and yeah, they wisely got out, and it's like, yeah, good on you.
Yeah, and that's what's funny is like if you think about it, aside from the 360 generation, my Xbox has always been kind of like a disruptor more than anything, right? They've been the one that's kind of like, oh, we're around. They've made trends happen, especially in the 360 era with the way that they had, Halo and Gears and that thing. But yeah, go ahead.
The 360 does have, I mean, the Xbox does have its good point, like its good gaming genres, like racing games or first-person shooters, even before Call of Duty and shit. And I would say more online focused than PlayStation.
Right.
But
they are big champion of indies.
Yeah. But, they're still not winning the console wars, or, like.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, like Phil Spencer said in that last interview, they are thinking beyond the console wars. And most of the people that are getting upset about this are the ones that are still in the console wars, and they're our age, and they can't pass the console wars.
The ones that are probably getting upset are probably the Xbox fanboys, because they're like,
right,
like we invested all our energy and time into this, and now they're saying like, hey, we may give this up. It's like,
right, and that's the thing though. It's like, can we expect Xbox to keep, or Microsoft to keep bankrolling consoles if they're not selling what they need to sell? That's insane to even if Microsoft makes all this money. Like, you can't expect them to just, we're going to keep making consoles because it's something that we can do when the audience for that keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then not only that, but you're not pushing your console because you're trying to get everything everywhere else. You have Game Pass that's everywhere. You're trying to get, he says that in an interview, even though two of the things of Game Pass are paying for multiplayer. But
right.
He says paying for multiplayer is antiquated. I don't know if we're going to eventually get to the point where we're not paying for multiplayer. We're just paying for Game Pass, and Game Pass includes multiplayer as well.
Well, yeah, isn't it bundled with it? Yeah.
So like, that's the thing is now I don't think it's going to be real until they actually have the thing you can connect to your TV. Then once they introduce that, I think that's when we need to start worrying, quote unquote, about whether you're going to have the console. Now I do worry about the console because what happens to all of my stuff that gets saved? Like, are you going to open up an infinite amount of cloud space for me to have all the stuff that I have on my console saved? I mean, where is all of that going to be? Am I going to have to is everything going to be loaded to the cloud? And, let's say I want to pull out Rock Band and play my songs. Like, where are those songs going to be? Right. That's part of my thing is the console is such a nice thing to have. As somebody that's always had a console since the Super Nintendo, it is some kind of a weird thing to think that, oh, yes, it's convenient. I'm just sticking this little thing that I can take anywhere with me, like a Chromecast or whatever, and plug it in. Yeah.
It worked for Stadia.
Worked for Stadia, yeah. I just, I don't think, I think for one, we need to think about this until we have the infrastructure where most of the world, which may be never, or at least not in our lifetimes, most of the world could be without some kind of console because the cloud is so good or some kind of connection, the little dongle is so good. Until that happens, I think we're still getting consoles. We're definitely getting consoles in the next generation in 2028. There's a big rumor going around that Gears 6 and the mid-gen console are going to be announced at the Game Awards for Xbox. Yeah. So that's already in existence. Now, granted, it's an all-digital console that's basically the Series X, but all digital. And it's going to be the same price with the same innards and everything else. So it's not really going to be anything totally special. It's like the PS5 Slim, basically. So, yeah, I just think that we're like going crazy about something that it is inevitable. We're eventually going to get to the point where there may not be consoles on either side. Even Jim Ryan has said something about to the effect that the PS5, I don't think so, but the PS5 could be the last console. So I think we kind of need to get off this train of like, oh my God, that's it. Xbox is over and PlayStation, Nintendo have won, and like they're already winning. Xbox is not winning in that conceit, right? This is why they're doubling down on game publishers and getting so that they can have games and game IPs that sustain them beyond just the console war that they're never going to win. Because look at I think Epic Games is a great example. Steam is so powerful. It doesn't matter how many times Epic gets a exclusive, they're not winning. They're not going to beat Steam at their own game, especially when Steam is releasing Steam Decks now. It's not going to happen. And unless PlayStation falls off a cliff, which is not going to happen, like they're not going to win either. So why keep fighting a losing battle? Do you think it's like a huge deal outside of the, that people that just want an Xbox console? But like, I saw someone state that if Xbox did go third party, it would be really bad for the industry because then Sony and Nintendo could do whatever they wanted. Is there a worry from you on that end of?
No, because they could already do whatever. They already can do whatever they want. Like they could release if they said, "Hey, the PlayStation 6 is going to be $1,000, and if you don't eat shit," they're like, "All right, well, you're the only game." I mean, there's always the PC. If people are actually like worried about that, and most shit comes to the PC nowadays anyway.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that like having all these like portable consoles helps in that regard of making? I wouldn't say Nintendo because they're kind of like in their own little world about what they do, but like even if Xbox wasn't around, doesn't that kind of keep PlayStation honest in a way? Because you don't have to have this super amazing PC to be able to play these games. You can technically play them on a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally or a Lenovo, whatever,
Right. Yeah. I don't know. The portable console thing is kind of interesting to me, but only. I mean, if I was going to get one, I'd probably only get the Steam Deck because the other two or 5 or whatever seem a little hit or miss.
Yeah. Especially the SD card thing with the ROG, but
yeah,
the Lenovo one looks pretty interesting to me. I've thought about it, but it's like, especially the that's Scott mentions the Steam Deck OLED, which is a way better version of the Steam Deck, in every way, basically. Not to mention the OLED screen, which I still can't believe Nintendo is going to go back to the LCD with the Switch 2 or whatever that's going to be, after the success of the Nintendo Switch OLED and how much everybody says, wow, this is so much better,
Yeah, because it's cheaper. Like the same.
Right, like, but I mean, you're paying for quality, right? Like,
no, you're paying because you want to play the new Mario game.
Right, but I mean, like, wouldn't you say that your games are worth that $50 extra?
Unless they're already going to be like the margin on the console is like very slim. Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, they don't want to. Nintendo doesn't want to be losing money on this thing. So I imagine, even if the Switch 2 does have an LED, like give it 3 or 4 years, they'll release an OLED model, and then you can go buy that one instead.
Exactly. Yeah. It's basically so they can have something to upgrade to, because
and once the Switch 2 internals or guts or whatever gets cheaper, because of course it will. So
yeah, it's just it's one of these things where I think we're overblowing this. It's interesting that they talk about, all the things he talks about in that thing is basically like, this is a strategy they've employed for a while now. Like, they don't announce console sales because they don't care about, not that they don't care, but they don't focus on console sales, right? They're trying to improve Game Pass by having Activision Blizzard games in here, give you more reason to pay that $17 a month or whatever it is you're paying for that. It's interesting how they talked about, he said how they went to Satya Nadella and talked when they wanted to get Minecraft, and the whole story that he gave about that, and that's kind of what got Satya to think about like where they want to go with gaming. Is it all kind of started when they went with Minecraft.
Yeah,
he does mention World of Warcraft and the Xbox console hardware, but he does mention that subscription is also a high margin business. So I don't think that subscription for World of Warcraft's going anywhere.
Right.
I know people want it to go away because I get it, right? Like, that's kind of the thing that keeps me, aside from not having the time. It's also the thing that keeps me away from Final Fantasy 14. Is like, do I really want to pay a subscription for one game when I already pay subscriptions to have access to multiple games between PlayStation and Xbox? Like, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, the counter to that, I guess, would be like, well, you can, if you play for a month, you can see damn near a lot of stuff in that game. So
right. Plus, you can play free up to, I think it's Shadowbringers now. So
yeah, I think WoW might still have a free trial, or for some free month or something like. But and also neither of those games has and they have stories, but it's not integral to the actual game necessarily. I mean, probably Final Fantasy 14 is a little better about that, but no one cares about WoW story.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to make you care with that 3-part expansion thing.
Yeah, but
yeah,
good luck. Once
well,
you face death in one of the expansions, it's like, okay, everything else kind of seems a little less important.
I mean, Scott does bring up a good point that they could add a Game Pass subscription that also adds
yeah, like
subscription
like give
based
it like
games.
$5 or $10, or like
Yeah,
buy the Game Pass Ultimate, or I mean more Ultimate, and then you can get WoW or whatever.
yeah, because you still have to, because Elder Scrolls Online, you also have to pay a sub as well.
Yeah.
So that would kind of let them put that in there too, and I mean they own that property. So
Didn't Sony have that with like their MMOs like a long time ago? Like not Game Pass, but it was like Station Pass or something like that.
I
Where
think
it's
I
like
know what you're talking about.
it was like City of
Yeah,
Hero. I don't. Maybe it wasn't Sony. I think it might have been ArenaNet or something. But it was like City of Heroes and a whole bunch of other MMOs that you don't care about. Be like, here you go.
yeah. I mean, it is an interesting prospect. Like that could be a way to get people that aren't in Game Pass right now, right?
Yeah.
That are coming over from the Activision Blizzard thing, from BattleNet and all that. And hey, here, get $5 off your subscription you pay every month, and you get Game Pass, and you get all the stuff that's in Game Pass too. And it's a way to get Game Pass subscribers. So again, they're thinking about ways for them to pump that up, which is what they want, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this will continue to be a revolving door. Interesting to see when this mobile gaming store from Microsoft happens. Of course, they're going to have to deal with Apple again, which they had the problem when they tried to put Game Pass on the iOS store. So we'll see what happens with all that. But yeah, this will continue to be a thing that's talked about until it actually happens. But I do fully expect that one of the things we're going to see at the Game Awards is they did say they're going to have exciting announcements this time, which is good, especially when last year they had nothing. One of them's going to be the console that I don't know how many people are really going to care about having that mid-gen console that has nothing new on it. But yeah, and also the fact that it kind of looks like I think we talked about it, kind of looks like a trash bin. The ones
the
that
trash can.
you
Yep.
pop the thing with your foot and it opens, kind of thing. But we'll see what happens there. But yeah, moving on from that, another thing that's sort of Microsoft adjacent, which I also don't think it's that big a deal, but again, we're making this a big deal because whatever. Bethesda was seen responding to Starfield negative reviews on Steam. If you
I saw
don't,
this. That's not a good. That's not good. Like,
but if you see any kind of like, if you played PC games at all for a while now, the developers will respond. Maybe not the developers, but the community manager, somebody, right? Is responding to your review, especially if it's negative, to explain maybe why, this is like that, or this, or this version of this thing that's in the game is made that way, or whatever. And they're doing the same thing with Starfield, like why we made so many planets, and it's supposed to make you feel a certain way. And the quote that's been used the most is, well, when the guys landed on the moon, they didn't think it was boring, right? It's probably not the greatest
when the guys, I
comparison.
mean, yes, but it's like there weren't
Yeah.
previous games, or there weren't previous moons that had more interesting shit.
Yeah, it's true. That was the only moon that we could get to at that time. So what are you gonna do, right?
I mean, the problem with like what Bethesda's doing, like I think it's dumb on its face, but the deeper problem is like I don't think Starfield has enough content or interesting content rather to keep people like engaged.
Right.
And look at games that have had rocky launches before and they organically fixed it, or they upgraded, patches came out or DLC came out that made the games positive again, like Cyberpunk, or especially No Man's Sky. Like No Man's Sky had a terrible launch, but now on Steam it has an overwhelming positive recent reviews and mostly positive, overall reviews. So they got to stick with Starfield if they want if they want to come back. But also, did you see the thing about like, oh, player base of Starfield has dropped off after a month because it's
Well, it'd be what,
50%,
2 months
or
now?
yeah.
3 months almost we're at now. Yeah.
But it's like, well, yeah, because people played it or people beat it. Like,
It's a single player game at the end of the
yeah,
day.
they're not going to stick around. I mean, wait until mod tools come out, like real mod stuff, or expansions or DLC. I mean, it's the same thing that happened with Fallout and with like Skyrim. I think Skyrim did it better, but they still had a drop off. I mean, but those games are not like, oh, it, the player base is down. We gotta press the big button to fix it. It's like, no, like those games are enduring. Like
But
they will last.
Skyrim has this like longevity where they have put it on all these consoles for a reason, right? Because people will go back and play it.
Well, they could do that. I mean, they can't do that with Starfield now.
Right, yeah. But I think it's like we got to remember No Man's Sky has all this time where they've been able to improve the game, add things to it. It's a continuous, like, ongoing game as well.
No Man's Sky has been out for almost 10 years.
It's crazy to think.
Yeah. But you'd also look at that and go, you might have taken a few cues from it, or maybe not stolen stuff, but going like, hey, people like shift combat. Maybe we can make that a focal point in our game. And I was like, nah, let's just have a big dialogue tree instead.
Right, but I mean, they could also add expansions that focus on these things and put that into the game.
That's what I was saying.
Right?
Yeah, it all depends on how much they actually want to support it.
I would imagine, since we're not getting Elder Scrolls anytime soon, you would be supporting that if you're Bethesda, because that's the only thing you have right now that is really something that's could continue to be a progressively getting better game. I mean, you've already had this problem with Redfall. You've actually tried to make it a better game. Scott brings up that they're retaining half of the staff to work on the game. So I think that says a lot about it. Does have its fans. It has people that are champions of it. And I think IGN had a story of Nico, who's on Twitter. He did New Game Plus 33 times, and he finally found something crazy thing that happened that he got to experience. That's cool when you get those moments in games like that. That's kind of what they want you to do with that game, but they have things they can add to that game that hopefully they take all of this negative stuff and say, okay, let's improve that. Let's use Cyberpunk as an example. They're about to do their 2.1 update. They just announced all the stuff for today, and they're adding stuff that even I think there's a tweet from one of the devs that said they were never going to add a metro system. And then guess what's in the 2.1 update? A metro system. So doing things like that adds more life to the game. You can apparently you're going to be able to spend time with your partner, as if they were, your partner in real life. That's small things at the end of the day, but all of those things together make it look like a really cool game. Right. And anybody that goes on Game Pass later and plays for the first time, they can experience the whole thing. Oh,
yeah, I think also, I think a lot of the marketing didn't help Starfield, the very long, 20-minute video footage of this is how you can build your ship. It's don't show that. That might be better to leave it as a surprise to people, or but then experience it organically, or
I mean, also the overhype didn't help it either. Oh, it's the game of the generation, people. Yeah. We all need it. Right. Let's not put. We're going to talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 a little bit later. We don't need to put Grand Theft Auto 6 expectations on every game that comes out, because 99.9% of the time they're not going to live up to that. That's an extreme expectation that you're giving for that game. And it's and it's most of the time it's the Xbox people that we have to have a game that everybody and their mother talks about. we have to have the Last of Us game. We have to have, insert whatever Sony big thing here.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's like, we need to have our Halo moment for 2022 or 3 or whatever. It's like, not really. Not really. What you need to just have is a great catalog of games. They don't all need to be the highest tier on planet Earth. Sony gets that because there are these like wonderful narrative experiences and a hit, Last of Us hit at a time where you didn't have stuff like that. I don't know what else you can really do today that hasn't been done already. You'll have shocks from like indies like Vampire Survivor or, like even Dave the Diver this year, which is not indie, but I'm just bringing up a point. And some other experiences we've had from like AAA games, but a lot of the creative stuff comes from indies, and then it translates into AAA. It's very hard for AAA to like be the one that pushes everything. Hi-Fi Rush probably is, as Scott brings up, might be the best game that released this year because they actually have creative stuff in it. They, in a way, you could probably say is more creative than whatever Starfield did, because I think you can make the big argument that Starfield is basically just Skyrim or Fallout in space.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. Is, I mean, if you care about creativity, then Starfield is basically, it has a cool shipbuilder, but that's about it. Or,
Yeah, Randy brings up a good point too. Starfield was given Game of the Generation when all we had was a logo for all those years. Too. Yeah, we don't need to keep doing that. But hopefully Starfield is able to improve upon itself. I want to bring up a point about the whole reviewing thing. You said it looks bad, but I don't think it looks bad I would like developers to tell me why they made decisions in games.
Okay, it doesn't look bad. It looks desperate.
Okay. Is it desperate because it's Bethesda doing it? Is that why we're saying that?
I would say it's unless it's like a 2-man team or like some dude making a game on Steam, like the guy who made like Gunpoint. It was like one dude who made that game like a decade
Enter Knights also same thing. One guy.
If it's like him responding to people and going like, "Oh, if you're not playing the game correctly," or something like that, that's fine. But if it's an actual like big studio, like taking the time to respond to people's dumbass reviews, like that whiffs of like desperation and like the building's on fire or something like that. Like, oh my god, we can't let the Steam recent reviews get to mostly negative or mixed because.
Well, okay. I can kind of see your point, right? They're too big. They should be above that. But I also think that's wrong for us to say that a big publisher can't come out and try to explain itself of why.
If it was like a big post or just like a big, something like that would be fine, I guess.
But I think the problem is the way that Steam is made. They're not going to read that, but they are going to read when they go through and read review, like somebody that's interested in buying the game, right? That isn't interested in having Game Pass. They just want to buy this one game, right? And they go back and let's say it's 6 months from now. If all of the reviews that are there are negative and nobody's explaining to me why maybe they thought this or thought that, if I see those counterparts from developers, I might go do more research about the game, and it might turn me into going, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I like their other games or whatever. I do think there's a point to that. I don't know. It's just to me, I don't see it. Why is it okay for an indie dev to do it and not them?
Because the indie dev has more cred.
More cred for what? Okay, more cred of what though?
More credibility.
Okay. But they're also a dev. Like they're just trying to make sure that you understand their.
Yeah,
as long as they're. Go ahead.
There's a difference between the developer, like the guy in the basement responding to someone, and like Bethesda's PR firm or Bethesda's marketing team responding to reviews as well. If the guy responding on the Steam review is like, hey, I'm the guy in Starfield who built the ships or built part of the, ship building system. That would be kind of okay or kind of more interesting, because you could pick that guy or girl's brain about, well, why can't I do this, or why
Right.
is it
Okay.
like this, or whatever.
Okay.
But if it's just some PR flack or some PR flunky going like, hey, Starfield's great, more people should be playing it, all these reviews are
That's
wrong.
not really what they're saying, but I mean, they're actually going into his point and explaining why the whole example we gave is not the greatest. It's like Scott said, landing on the moon is not the same as landing on the planet. But Randy, thank you for disagreeing with Mark on this thing. But it is, to me, I don't care as long as they don't get rude with the person. As long as they make good points, I have no problem with it, because at the end of the day, you're protecting your IP. You want people to buy this game later on, and that's it. At the end of the day, it's to make it look better. Right now, it doesn't look great. The guy that did No Man's Sky, he had to come out and do a whole PR thing as well. Like I don't think that it's bad to do this.
That Sean, I forget the guy's last name.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is he would just come out and give interviews. He wasn't responding to people directly on their Steam reviews.
I would argue that Steam reviews are more important now than they used to be. 2016, 17 when that game came out. So I can see the basis of why they're doing it. But moving on to another topic here, because we had Dragon's Dogma have their direct. I thought what they introduced with the game looks fun. A lot of it is more Dragon's Dogma, but I don't know if you saw any of this.
No, kind of. I'm kind of, well, I don't know if I'll get the game at launch, but I kind of just want to be surprised or just experience it for myself.
Fair.
Like I saw the earlier trailer, and I know this one has a lot more Danny Trejo voice acting, so it's cool.
Yeah. They showed had the different things you can do to attack these big enemies that come in, and they have break points that you need to hit for them to go down and stuff like that. It looked really fun. So I liked the Dragon's Dogma 1. So
yeah,
I'm sure I will enjoy Dragon's Dogma 2. The kind of quote unquote, I guess, big thing that comes out of it, aside from its releasing on March 22nd, is the fact that this is Capcom's first $70 game.
SEGA.
No, they're Capcom.
Like a Dragon?
No, I'm not talking about Like a Dragon. It's Dragon's Dogma.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look for a second. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, kind of makes sense. It depends on. Dragon's Dogma is a really weird cult hit.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't Monster Hunter or ain't Resident Evil. We'll see if it does well.
Yeah, I do think that I like the Nintendo version of this. Of maybe when it's going to be your first one, explain to me a little bit about why you think it's $70. Scott, mentions I hope it's worth $70, and I do think when you're making that jump, $10 maybe to you doesn't seem like a big deal, but to the situation that we're in right now with the economy and everything else, and them talking about how they were one of the few developers that did not lay off people. They actually raised the rates, the pay rates of their devs to keep them. So I kind of understand that. And he did, the one that came out and said that he thinks games are not expensive enough. He did kind of explain it in that article. But I do think that for the people that may be looking at Dragon's Dogma and going, oh, I like the first game, I want to get the second game, and aren't into the news all the time, I do think that it bears explaining a little bit. Like, we think this is a premium title, that it's going to offer us this, and this, and this is why it's $70.
My 2 points would be, if if someone said I like the first game, believe me, they're into the game news, because no random person is like, I'm going to pick up this Dragon's Dogma game on a whim.
Yeah, but remember how old isn't it? Like almost 10 years old at this point. The first Dragon's Dogma. I mean, you could have been out of gaming, but you were never playing Dragon's Dogma. I mean,
I mean, it's older. It's 11 because it was like a 360 game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
the second thing I'll point out is, games used to be more expensive when we were kids.
Right.
So people bitching about the price of games now, it's like, yo, dog, look at like a Best Buy circular from 1993 where NBA, Madden 94 is $100. Like, not the collector's edition, or not like, the limited edition. The regular ass game was like $100. It's like that's more nuts to me than this thing being 70.
The one that I always remember is because I remember it, just it stuck with me, is I think it was like Fox College Hoops was like $80 on the 64 or something like that.
Right,
I was like, damn, that NCAA license must be expensive. There's,
like game prices today. I mean, they're more expensive than like, I guess, PlayStation or N64 era, but they're a lot more uniform as well. Like
everybody is charging the same, right? That's the thing. It's like we're not having a bunch of games that come out and they're all different prices or whatever. Everybody understands, yo, this is the price that you're going to charge for this game, and that's it. Now, if you're like an indie, you can kind of play around with it, whether it's going to be 20 or 30 or whatever, but for the most part, when you come out with a AAA game, it's 60 or 70. That's it. There's no going up. Well, but then of course you can have your digital edition that then makes it 80 or whatever the heck.
Yeah, and they have like, collector's editions, or even like, limited edition or whatever. But that's just extra stuff. That's not the game itself. So you want to hear a funny PlayStation Store quirk?
Sure.
And this is something that you may want to do, is you can pre-order Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the digital deluxe version, for $80, and that comes with the pre-order bonuses and all that crap. Or you can pre-order the other version, the bundle version, which comes with all the same crap, but also comes with Final Fantasy Remake Intergrade for $80.
Nice.
Like, I could buy one game for 80 or buy two games for 80.
Yeah, but if you already have the original 7 remake and the DLC, it doesn't really do anything for you.
Yeah, but it's just like the weirdest bundle, because it's like, well, okay, I guess I'd buy the second one just for the hell of it, or
Yeah. I guess for people that want to they saw the 7 Rebirth reactions or something, and they didn't even know 7 remake. I mean, I don't really know who wouldn't know the 7 remake exists at this point. But if you don't, or you recently got into, somebody told you about Final Fantasy 7 or something, and you wanted to get both, and you're upgrading to the PS5, then I guess why not? It's a good strategy, in a way to get people on board.
Yeah, but you just assume the 7 remake one would be like $20 more, or
Yeah.
That's like the weird thing. Bundling them together is fine, but bundling them together at the same price, that's the weird thing.
The one that bothers me is when they do sales and the deluxe edition or whatever the heck is the one that goes on sale, but then the regular one doesn't go on sale, which would be the one that's cheaper. Because
they still want to earn more money. So
I know, but I hate it. Like, it's just like, dude, you could put the regular edition at like 40 or 35 or something, and all you're doing is making me pay the same price for the digital deluxe edition, and it's not helping me. So yes, sticking with Capcom for a little bit here, and I feel like I know we've talked about this one a bunch, but they did officially confirm now that Resident Evil remakes are coming. There's more coming. So they're not stopping at 4.
Yeah, this ain't news. I mean,
yeah, like, well, it's not, but I guess it's good to have them confirm it, right? Like, it's to know that they are making another one at least, and that they're not going to tell you right now. They want to be able to announce it on their own time. Scott is wishfully thinking that we're going to get a Code Veronica remake.
I mean, that's the one everyone wants. I would say I should go Code Veronica 5 and then 0.
I don't think we're going to. I think it's going to be 5. I think there hints that
5
is
the safer choice, but 5 is also the more boring choice.
Well, I mean, they probably want to do the one that they know is going to make the most money, which would probably be 5. Do you think we could live in a world where maybe they do because they feel like Veronica is a smaller game? Do they do 2 in 1? Maybe
no, Veronica is like a large game.
Right, but okay, I'm talking about fan base wise, right? Like maybe they feel like it's because why wouldn't you have done Veronica at this point if you feel especially because it doesn't finish the story of 2 remake or whatever? Like, why wouldn't you have at this point? So if you feel like it's not going to do as well as doing 5, why? Do you think we could live in a world we could see we're going to do 0 remake and Code Veronica and put them both together and sell you both of them?
No, because they still want to make separate products. I mean, that's why 2 and 3 weren't bundled together.
Yeah, I mean I think they thought about it at one point and then they said, "Oh, you know what?
Yeah, and then they're like, we can make more money on." So
2 remakes sold probably way more than they thought it was going to, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute. Let's go unbundle this thing." Like it's
Here's the thing. I think 5 would sell. I actually think Code Veronica would sell more, simply because there's more buzz about it, and it's more of a not indie or not like hidden game, but there's more kind of mystique about it, or more positive feelings than 5. I mean, 5 was good,
right,
but 5 was just kind of seen as like this iterative thing from 4, and yeah. And I don't think I mean, I was kind of joking, but I don't think Resident Evil 0 would sell at all because no one gave a shit about that game in the first place.
Yeah, I do think it'd be nice if you're going to give us the ability to play the entire remake and the entire Resident Evil story from start to finish without the tank controls. But yeah, at some point, you're gonna run out of the remakes. So
no, man, they can just start remaking the remakes. Resident Evil 1 remade.
Okay, well, fair enough. To be fair, 1 is far enough away where technically you could. It is at that age where you could say, "Oh, we're gonna touch this up and do a 1 remake or whatever," because that was 2 generations ago now. So,
right,
yeah, there's been hinted at this a bunch of times, so we've talked about this a few times already, but yeah, 5 definitely feels like the next one. I feel like before you get to 6, you got to do something else, not just the next numbered one.
No, I mean, it'll be Resident Evil 9.
Or
it'll probably go 5, 9, and then 6, and then whatever. But I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I think we want Code Veronica. Give it to us, you fuckers.
Do you see the pattern of where they're seemingly kind of making these a bit more interconnected, so it makes sense why they're remaking them?
No,
no,
they're adding kind of some nonsense, but no. I mean, there's kind of it's what we got in the pipeline. Let's just go.
Yeah, Scott says that the order should be 5, 9, 6, 1, and then 0, and then 10 after that. Well, it seems logical. Why not do that? But yeah, Capcom's going to be doing these remakes. They love them. They're making them money. So why not keep doing it? It works for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that work for PlayStation, their PlayStation Plus stuff has worked for them for a while. They announced the December ones, and they also announced the big collaboration with NCSoft to make various types of games as well. Lego 2K Drive, Power Wash Simulator, and Sable are going to be your December 2023 titles. Yeah.
I'll actually give Power Wash Simulator a shot.
Power Wash Simulator is great. It's fun. It's just like one of those games you put on a podcast.
Yeah,
it's here. I still want to play the Final Fantasy VII.
No, that was free. That's free.
It's free. I thought I had to pay for that. Damn it! I would have done that already.
I think it was free. It was like free if you like the day or like a few days before it went up. So I grabbed that, and there was like some I think Tomb Raider DLC as well.
Yeah, there's Tomb Raider DLC.
Hey, I get to Power Wash Lara Croft. Sign me up.
Nice. Lego 2K Drive I've heard good things about. I don't think it was this. I think it got hyped about more than it wound up being great, but it's good. It's a good title to add. And Sable was one of the indie darlings the year it came out.
Right.
What if you had Zelda but in the desert or something like that? I played it a little bit on Game Pass. So I enjoyed what I played.
Sure.
So, well worth a really good month. I know a lot of people are like, "Where are the big titles? You're making us pay more yearly for this." You don't have to pay that.
I'd rather have 3, I would say, mid-tier games rather than 1 big game and 2 games no one gives a shit about. Because I will at least give Power Wash Simulator a shot rather than think about like what Xbox Gold was doing the last 2 years of when they were still handing out free games. You're like, eesh.
Yes. I totally agree with you on that. I'd rather get 3 really good games that I know I'm gonna really sink my teeth into instead of like 2 bad ones for the sake of getting an awesome, huge AAA game. Unless it's something that like when they've done, was it the first Star Wars Jedi game, something like that like is not a miss, right? Where you're really getting that bang for your buck. Okay, I'm paying whatever it is a month or yearly, and I'm getting a huge game that I've wanted. Sure.
Yeah.
What do you make of this? Them also confirming that they are working on that Horizon MMO, by the way, with NCSoft, but also NCSoft is apparently around to help them with making different entertainment experiences, and things like that. Games that we don't normally get from Sony, basically. What do you and mobile games as well? Yeah.
Please don't. Please.
Also, credit to Jim Ryan for just coming out in like a t-shirt and jeans to go sign the deal or whatever. Like,
yeah,
that's when you're in the retired.
Yeah,
like I don't give a shit anymore.
You're not wearing the suit anymore. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we talked about the Horizon MMO when they first kind of like said that it might be in development.
Yeah. It's a bad idea then. It's a bad idea now. So
I get that they want to have these live service games, but
I mean, in a vacuum, live service might be okay, but when you're tying it to like a single player story-based game or like a franchise that the story is kind of the integral part, that's when it really falls apart. Like if they made like a SOCOM live service game, who gives a shit? Or something like that. But no.
Yeah, I don't know how you would tie in the story, if at all, right?
No, you wouldn't. You'd have. Unfortunately, he's passed away. But you would have had like Lance Reddick's character go like, "I'm recruiting you for a new initiative," and you're going to be. I think Silence or something like that. You're going to be like my group and doing all these missions and fucking up robots and stuff like that. But to me, it reminds me of when Assassin's Creed went multiplayer, for I think like Brotherhood and I think 2 other games, maybe at least one other one. I think Revelations, but there's like multiplayer component, and it's like okay, that's kind of neat, like a neat separate thing or a side thing, but it wasn't the focus of the games, and also they stopped doing that, like because
Yeah.
it probably wasn't profitable enough for them to care, and no one else cared about it anyway. So
I mean, this is a big commitment to get. And I mean, I get NCSoft are a great company that know their thing. You know, they do Guild Wars. I mean, they know what to do when it comes to MMOs. But it's like, man, we're already getting to the point I think where Horizon maybe needs a break. Right? You have the new game, then you had the DLC, then you're gonna have the remake or remaster of 1 to put it on PS5.
yeah.
Like, I don't know that you need this constant going on Horizon thing.
Right,
But
especially since like I don't think that franchise or like that property is like capable of supporting all this crap. Like it's fine, but it's kind of limiting because you're focused on like the one character, and there's nowhere to really go from. Like you're just gonna play some like no name tribal guy, but oh, I'm also important to this story. It's like no, you're not.
yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, you're trying to make Horizon the next big franchise that you have. You have the Netflix TV show or whatever too. And Scott says, "Oh, well, look at all what they're looking at is all the money from live service and MMOs." But I think this is kind of gonna be one of the ones that's not gonna. It might do well at first, right? Because everybody's gonna be excited. Oh, we'll get to play with my friends in Horizon and do all the stuff that you do in the Horizon games. But man, I can't see them constantly keeping people around for this. Like we see it with a lot of these MMO likes with the live service and then MMOs, and it's really hard to keep people around when it's something new and you're fighting with all the other ones that are around. It's much easier to drop the one that's new and go back to the one that you're used to than it is vice versa a lot of times. So I don't know. They're really pushing into this, and I could see this getting a lot of blowback instead of being a success. But
I mean, look at Ghost of Tsushima's like multiplayer stuff.
people
Like
love that though.
some people, but then no one talks about it now, or no one like the first
Right.
month. Like Jens and I played like for like a few days, like maybe a match or two, and then it's like, all right, we're done.
I mean, like from what I didn't play 2, but from what I played of 1, it does have a world that you kind of want to. I could see people you want to be in it, right? It does try to have a story about itself.
Yeah.
So you could grow on that, right? But
like the story in those games is basically like you are the chosen one because you literally are
exactly you
cloned
are,
from
yeah.
this chick. Yeah. Sort of gonna go, oh, your character, you were also part of this group back in the day. Then you're also cloned as well, so that's why you're important as it's like no.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna tell me that okay, we're gonna make a Horizon multiplayer game or something like that, and it's not necessarily live service or not an MMO, okay, I could kind of go with that, like what they're doing with factions. But
I could see it more in like The Last of Us, kind of,
right?
Because it's like, well, Joel and Ellie are the focal point of that story, but there's still a much more interesting world that you could do stuff with. Like, you're a new survivor, or you're just whatever. Like, you don't have to tie it into Joel and Ellie at all, really. But with Horizon, you kind of do have to tie it in with that chick, Aloy, because she is the focal point. So,
yeah. And then I forgot the Horizon VR game as well.
Yeah, I remember
they had that in there. So like,
yeah,
a lot of Horizon stuff. Now this was like a ways off, so we'll see what keeps happening with that. But Look, and Sony wants to kind of do the multimedia thing, and so far it's worked out for them.
Where's the Spider-Man MMO, where it's just 50 Spider-Man against one raid boss, Doc Ock?
I'm surprised nobody has tried to bring that up. Let's do a Spider-Man MMO thing.
I'm a level 13 Madam Web.
But just to, I guess, continue with the mobile stuff for a little bit here. Sega also kind of unveiled a little bit of their plans that they're doing now that they own Rovio. They said that there could be a Sonic and Angry Birds crossover game, and kind of joke that their IPs are dating right now, where they figure out what they're going to do with them, and then also that Like a Dragon and Persona could have mobile games as well.
I mean, Persona already has had a mobile game, I think.
Well, they keep putting Persona in a bunch of different mobile games.
Yeah.
Also, so there's that. Scott brings up the Marvel Spider-Verse releasing in 2030. Yep. I mean, the way things are going with Spider-Man, who knows? It could happen. But yeah, as somebody that plays Ever Crisis all the time, can tell you that I got by the gacha. I get that the gacha works. Scott is a big fan of the Honkai Star Rail. So if that's what they're going to do, try to make Like a Dragon and Persona gacha games, I guess that's definitely could happen. I just don't know. Like, you get so many Persona spinoffs at this point. That
it dilutes the brand. I mean, that's why I'll get Tactica eventually, but I don't see it as important, especially since last year or the past few years, you got Persona 5 Royal, and then the Breakers, or whatever the whole fuck it ended up being called.
Yeah, the Strikers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, and that's the point, right? Like Persona, every time they have a game, what do? They release like 30 different DLC with all these different outfits, right? And Like a Dragon does similar things. They did it with Like a Dragon 7 because you have all the different jobs you get and all that thing.
I mean, at least with that one, I don't know if that's actually better or worse, because it's better because they're more unique, but it's worse because it's actual gameplay stuff.
Right.
So at least with like Persona 5, it's just like, hey, if you want your character to look like a Power Ranger, you can do it. But
yeah, it just, if this is like their way of kind of just having a concurrent Persona thing around, and I'm sure that they will meld very much like they did with the why can't I think of them right now, the dungeon games that are on the 3DS, where they melded in the Persona 3 and 4 characters as well. I don't see this as being
wasn't that Persona
Persona
Q?
Q. Yes, yeah. Persona Q. Those are both great games, by the way. Would be cool if they got put on Switch at some point. But yeah, like that's something they could do on mobile as well. They could do their own version of a Persona Q on mobile. They could do whatever it is, like a Persona gacha game, but then kind of involve all the Persona things in them. Kind of like what we're seeing with Ever Crisis, where they do 7 and 9 crossover.
No, they are doing that Persona gacha game though.
What?
There's some mobile Persona game that it's all gacha shit.
Yeah. Well, and they, like I said, like, Scott brings up, they added them to like another Eden. They've added them to other mobile games as well, so
yeah,
that's a thing.
Yeah, Persona 5, the Phantom X. Persona 5
right.
X, that was it. Yeah.
Like a Dragon having that doesn't surprise me either. I mean, it is kind of built where they could technically make it a mobile game as well, especially now as you have the turn-based version of Like a Dragon. So why not? Everybody else is doing it. So if they're wanting to do this, then go for it. Sonic is interesting as well because, Sonic has had its mobile ventures. So, hey, didn't take them long to have this bear fruit for Sega, so we'll see when they actually come out.
Wait until the Microsoft King announcement of Halo, Candy Crush.
Yeah, for sure. Just unfortunately, we have to talk about some more negative stuff with gaming here, as Embracer keeps just gutting companies. They've officially sort of announced their Free Radical, which Randy and I talked about when the news came out the first time, that Free Radical was possibly going to get closed. Embracer basically said that at some point in this month, they are probably going to close Free Radical.
We talked about it also, I think, because I was
Yeah.
making fun of people who like time splitters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks to see. It sucks that like we were close to possibly getting a new Time Splitters game, and yes, it's it sucks to see this. And then also they're going to they already laid off people at Fish Labs, which are the people that made the Corvus game. No,
it's not Corvus, it's just Chorus.
Chorus. Okay, yeah,
just spelled dumbly.
Yeah.
I like that game, but it had problems,
It did, but it still sucks to see that again. Another developer that they own, is losing people around. They said that on Tuesday, around 50 people were told that they'd be laid off. The studio itself only has 120 people, which
that's a good chunk. Yeah, like that's almost half.
I mean, they did also work on ports of Saints Row the Third and 4 for Switch, and then the Xbox port of Valheim. So they were doing other things besides Chorus.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. This, like I keep saying, and great on Ben Starr also saying it during the Golden Joystick Awards, that this is a great year for games, but a terrible year for everything else around games. And it continues to bear that fruit. And then one that really bothers me, because I like Marvel Snap. I play with a friend of mine every so often. And ByteDance, who, of course, people probably know from, they're the ones that do TikTok. They also own a gaming company.
Yeah.
And that gaming company is apparently Newburst. I'm sorry. It's going to disappear, basically. They're trying to get out of games. And they're trying to basically sell off. Either they can sell off the studio or just sell off the various games that they have already existing. But they told the developers that are working on games that haven't come out yet that they're going to stop working on those games, and they've already started laying off people again, which sucks. Right. And although the folks that do Marvel Snap did come out and say that this should not affect the game, because it's a Marvel game. You would think that the IP and the game itself would sell if somebody else can go buy it. I don't know how the whole transfer of the rights would work, but yeah,
maybe Disney can go buy it.
Of course, I forgot that the developer is named Second Dinner, that kind of makes this game. But yeah, I hate seeing this, man. Marvel Snap has been one of those mobile games that has came up and surprised everyone. Obviously, it has a lot of Hearthstone feeling in it, because one of the folks that made Hearthstone also makes this game. But I don't know. Did you ever play it, or?
No, because it was probably pretty. I mean, I think it's on Steam now, but yeah, it was mobile focused, and I also don't care about card games anymore, so that's a problem. But
fair enough.
It's not scummy, so that's a positive to their.
Yeah, I never felt like I was being pushed towards having to buy anything.
And the mechanics kind of seemed interesting. We had the 3 zones. So yeah, I assume it's just kind of in maintenance mode for the moment, or they'll keep trucking along until they either get completely shut down or someone else picks them up.
Yeah, and Scott brings up that this is why, for every time we talk about these big mergers happening, why a lot of them, while okay, you can have some good ones, perhaps. When you have a big company like Embracer that we kept talking about, they were buying. This is what happens when you have one wrong, bad decision happen, and now all of these companies are being affected, and it's not going to end. I'm sure next year we're going to be the same problem.
Yeah, I mean, Embracer had other problems as well, where the Saudi deal fell through, obviously, but also they were putting out a bunch of crap, So
they were like remaking games that didn't need to be remade or remastered. It's like no one asked for half of these games that you guys are just putting out, but okay.
Yeah, or they released Saints Row and that was a disaster, or like the remakes, I guess it's kind of fine that Destroy All Humans got a remake, but that didn't set the world on fire, or
No,
how could it,
Right.
And if they do it cheaply, that's one thing, but I doubt they were.
No, they weren't, and unfortunately now they're bearing fruit of all these wrong decisions. And I wonder if at some point they get desperate enough where they start shopping around the Lord of the Rings IP thing again, to have somebody else buy it, because they already gave the multimedia rights to Amazon for it. They did that with Tomb Raider as well. Like, I wonder if they just go, oh, you know what? We're not recouping enough. Let's just sell this whole IP to somebody.
Yeah. I mean, hell, they're trying to get rid of Gearbox, and that's like their one of their few positive studios.
Yeah. For sure. Well, at least one positive when it comes to all this mobile gaming stuff. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is going to be has already hit Steam, or is going to hit Steam very quickly at like next week. I'm sorry. I've already been playing it on PC with the BlueStacks app. It's awesome because I can literally just have it running while I'm working and I'm grinding without having to sit there and waste all the battery on my phone. And it's great. I can still, cause damn man, they make you really have to grind to get to they just added the Nibelheim section, flashback section to the 7 story. And you have to grind a lot to get Cloud to the point where, because instead of having you fight with Sephiroth, because Sephiroth is not a character, in that I should mention, young Sephiroth is a character, but he has his own storyline with the first soldier stuff, which is different than 7. The adult Sephiroth is not a character in the game, so you cannot fight with Sephiroth like you would in the regular Final Fantasy. You have to fight as Cloud by himself during this section, and it means you have to grind Cloud to a certain point where he's like way above the rest of your party. And it kind of sucks because most of the game you're grinding with 2 other characters, so your power level doesn't have to be as strong. But when it's just one character, it's a pain in the butt. Yes, and I agree. Young Sephiroth also, he was way behind the other characters that used the first soldier, and you have to grind him a lot too. And it's like, you know what? I'm done trying to. Even though I have it on the auto battle thing, it's still using up a ton of the battery on my phone. I'm just like, thank God. Hopefully the Square Enix account thing that they already have, where I can just basically have cross progression between BlueStacks and my phone, will also work on the Steam version, and then it will work a lot better because I can just use Steam and not an app that I didn't have before this. So, yes, I agree with you, Scott. Thanks for BlueStacks.
I wasn't a fan of Young Sephiroth's first album, but the second album was pretty good.
All right, so we don't have a lot of time here. I got to pick up my daughter in like 25 minutes. So
no, I'll just rant about Hogwarts later on. That's cool.
Let's get into the Game Awards predictions. So what we're gonna do here is go through a lot of the, I guess, major. I'm not gonna. Look, we never talk about
an esports moment of the year.
No, especially not when they don't even check apparently they had a coach that didn't even coach this year.
Cool.
in the awards somehow. I don't know how
that's called not
figured
being
out.
surprised at all.
Again, I guess before we start, let's do this this one story. So Geoff Keighley had a Q&A that he did live, and he talked about apparently, I guess after this year, because he still called them world premieres. I don't know if it's going to include this year's version or next year. They're not going to use the world premiere thing anymore. They're going to have more security, so you don't have people showing up on the stage randomly. And I guess the most controversial thing he talked about was the whole Dave the Diver controversy with Best Independent Game. He said that basically indie is kind of like a style. Indie can be anything to anyone, regardless of whether you're AAA or not, essentially is what he said. Like, no, right? Like,
wait for the indie darling Call of Duty to come out.
like indie means something. You just don't want to put a meaning to that, so you don't have to say, "Oh man, we screwed up."
Yeah.
It's like that's just so weird that you wouldn't just say, "Hey, we messed up." So here's the quote, just so I don't say the wrong thing. So yeah, Dave the Diver, the game is made by a group made Mint Rocket. It's a smaller game from a smaller group, but it's part of Nexon, their employees. Nexon, which is a very large publisher. So I think it's a fair debate and discussion. Is that game truly independent or is it not? You can argue it either way. It's independent in spirit and that it's a small game with, I don't know what the budget is, relatively small budget, but it's from a larger entity, whereas there are other games on that list from much smaller studios. Thank you, Geoff, for telling us what we already knew, but why don't you just say, hey, we screwed up. We're going to do better next year or something to that effect. Like, I don't, you know, I still don't know why we can't have a panel that this is their job and you can just have people do it like throughout the year. I know that means you probably have to pay people something,
right?
But
yeah.
The PC gaming show Most Wanted thing, they had like a council of people, which included devs, journalists, and influencers, YouTubers, whatever. They put them all together, and they're the ones that pick the best 25 games or whatever that were on that thing. Why is that hard to do, Geoff? Where you do the same thing and you go, you guys decide in each genre, these are the games that should be in that category. And then when you give out the list to the people that vote, these are the games that probably belong in these categories. If you want to write something in, there's a write-in box. So you don't essentially have write-ins for every single category. And you have less of, oh yeah, Dave the Diver, that came out the year. Oh, it's indie, right? Like, no, it means that somebody already did the research for you, so you don't have to go and do research that you're not going to do. You pick something, and it's like, I don't understand why that's difficult. Instead of just doing this thing that they do now, but whatever. I don't know if you have a thought or.
Not really. I mean, I wouldn't say that game is indie, but it's also not gonna. It's also not going to be on like a top 5 or 6 game of the year list as well. So they had to put it somewhere.
Right, but I mean, also you could just exclude things that they don't fit and not try to shoehorn them in. But whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Like for me, also, I don't understand why we do this player's choice thing. If we're trying to point out, he points out that the player's choice thing is there. You can pick what you want to be able to represent the player side of things. Why are we putting old games in there that did not come out this year? If we're making that point, like there's indie games that are actually indie that were not in there because you had to put in Genshin Impact and Fortnite and other things that have been out a while that don't need to be recognized. They don't need this recognition. They don't need this recognition. They already have huge amounts of fans. But let's say whatever game that wins, which I know it's going to be some big AAA game, but let's say that we did have an indie game or some other games that could have gone further in the competition in the voting because you didn't have all these things in there. Like right now, Genshin Impact is one of the top 10. That makes no sense, but that's just me. Let's go. Yeah,
Fortnite needs more recognition.
yeah, definitely. We needed to have that in there. So I guess let's do with the one that doesn't have to do anything with gaming per se. Best adaptation: Last of Us, Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, Super Mario Brothers movie, and Twisted Metal.
It's gonna be Twisted Metal, man. Obviously.
Yeah.
No, it'll be Last of Us, of course.
They're gonna try to make it a point that we need to honor the best version.
I imagine they'll have the guy and the girl come out to accept as well. Or
you think Bella and Pedro will show up?
Maybe not both, but at least maybe one of them.
Yeah,
I assume maybe Pedro, but
yeah,
we'll see.
I think Mario movie has a slight chance because that might be more like fondly remembered and it has the big movie selling cachet, but I think Last of Us for sure.
Last of Us is better.
Yeah, Last of Us is you can say it's better. Cool that they had this category. So let's go to the stuff that we actually I'll do game of the year last. I feel like we already know what's going to win that category. But best game direction: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. What do you think?
I'd probably say Alan Wake.
I would also say Alan Wake 2 because it's the most directed game. Like you can literally feel Sam Lake's fingers all over that game as you walk through as Saga and Alan in that game.
All right.
Like, I think if you're taking it from that perspective of just saying, okay, this is the one that had the most direction. I think because there's an art direction, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is probably going to win that instead of.
Yeah, Alan Wake is more like a singular vision of Sam Lake, or
right,
the company itself, rather than.
I mean, I guess you could go the other way and say that Baldur's Gate and Zelda are like direction in a different way, where you as the player get to make the direction, and that's creative in its own right. So
No.
I guess those could possibly.
Yeah, but no.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think Alan Wake's going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Baldur's Gate wins that. All Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel Spider-Man 2 for Best Narrative. I think Alan Wake 2 is probably going to win this.
I would say either that or maybe Cyberpunk, but that seems to be like the big push of that, or the big focus of that game expansion. But
I don't want to get into an argument with you, but I did enjoy Final Fantasy 16's narrative. I know you didn't. It's fine. I don't think we need. This is not the. We can talk about that when we do the Game of the Year stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
I'll bring up my graphs and point out how you're objectively wrong. No problem.
Best art direction: Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Slice of Peace, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I think it'd be cool if Hi-Fi Rush won, because
I would say either that or Lies of Peace.
Awesome. Yeah, I also did enjoy Lies of Peace a lot as well.
I mean, the problem with Mario Wonder is it's such an established art style already. It's like, okay, it's cool that the pipes move or that you can turn into an elephant, but
right.
Okay, like.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mario wins, just because it is like, oh, let's give Mario credit for doing something a little bit different. But yeah, it would be awesome if Hi-Fi Rush wins, because man, the art in that game is great, and the way they make that all move with the music and everything is awesome. Best score in music: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and Zelda. I think this is the one category that Final Fantasy 16 wins. If there's one thing about Final Fantasy 16 that I will not argue, I don't think can really necessarily be argued too much, is that it has a great soundtrack. I don't think they would have taken the time to make sure that they added 16 tracks to the rhythm if the soundtrack wasn't as beloved as it is. Also, Hi-Fi Rush has a great soundtrack too.
I mean, I'd actually say to Alan Wake 2 out of this one.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna include like how Alan Wake makes you feel with its score and everything else, and then also having the sound, the tracks at the end of each chapter are great, as well.
Plus, I've seen that one big Alan Wake 2 sequence, and that's integral to the actual plot.
Yes, that is awesome. The fact when that hits in the game, it's awesome. Best audio design: Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. This is the one that I feel like Hi-Fi Rush should win because of all the stuff that it does with its sound design, which the fact that it makes all of that stuff go to the music is amazing.
Since Legend of Zelda: Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah, so but shout out to Alan Wake 2 also as well for that. And Resident Evil 4 also does a great job with its audio design, and of course Dead Space. If we're gonna talk about scary game, out of the three, Dead Space is probably the scariest out of the three.
Yeah.
Best performance, which is the voice actor award for the Game Awards. Ben Starr as Clive, Cameron Monaghan as I don't know what he's
Cal
called.
Kestis.
Cal.
Yeah.
Idris Elba for Cyberpunk 2077. Melanie LeBird for Alan Wake 2. She played Saga. Neil Newbon for Baldur's Gate 3. I think he plays the guy that's on the cover. I can't remember his name now. The one with the white hair. And then Yuri Lowenthal as Spider-Man. I could see Idris Elba winning, especially if he shows up just as a prestige actor.
Right. Man, fuck all these people. It should just be Sam Lake again.
Sam Lake again. I wouldn't be surprised also if Ben Starr wins because,
right.
He has made Clive like his whole thing. And him tweeting about in the Clive voice every time there, he just did one for GTA 6 where he's like, "Oh, I'm putting myself out there as one of the three birds." He's doing it in the Clive voice, and it's great, and it's and he is a blessing to the world this year for sure. At least him as a person. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to see what happens there. Innovation and accessibility: Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6. I've heard a lot of people say Street Fighter 6 for putting in the new controls.
Yeah, the modern controls where they make it really simple.
Hi-Fi Rush, of course, for what it does with where it makes it easier for you to understand how the beats work in that game. Forza Motorsport always does a good job with its accessibility stuff. Diablo 4 as well. I could see Hi-Fi Rush winning this. I don't know where you stand on that.
I have no opinion. It's like, all these things are fine.
Gains for Impact, which is always a weird category. It's gone from the category that it's supposed to really mean something to the category of more of it's the category that hits you in the feels, I guess. A Space for the Unbound, which is a fantastic game. Everybody should go play. Chance of Sonar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terra Nil, and Venba. Man, I'd love to see Venba win this.
I only have heard of Venba, so
yeah. I could see Chances Sonar winning too because it's getting a lot of buzz as a game you need to play before we get to the end of the year thing. I feel like every podcast I've listened to this week is saying that they're playing somebody's playing Chances Sonar on there. So yeah, I'm gonna go with I think Chances Sonar is gonna maybe win, but man, it'd be cool if Venba won. Best ongoing game: Apex, Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. I love Cyberpunk to win just for the fact that it's technically not an ongoing game, but they put it in here because of all the patches and then having the expansion just to like, get to throw it in the other one's faces, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, Cyberpunk would be cool, but I'll probably be Apex or whatever.
Probably. Let me get out of this because it keeps going. Okay. Best independent game. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What?
No, I said it. Damn sure going to be Call of Duty.
Yeah, definitely not. Cocoon, Dave the Diver, which is not an indie game. Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. I think Cocoon is probably gonna win. I don't know if he's done the vote, like how they do the voting, if it's already been decided and we're just going through the motions, or when they actually do the deciding.
Well, you can vote. I mean, people can vote now, so it's
but that vote is like 10% to the critics, like 90%. I think it is.
Yeah.
So even Geoff went on that Q&A and said that the players' votes don't really matter that much when it comes to these. It'd be interesting if he ever thinks about pushing that up a little bit more. But
I think Viewfinder would be cool. That's just my take.
Yeah, Viewfinder's been one of those that I've wanted to play for a while, but haven't. I wouldn't care whichever one of these win. I mean, Dave Diver is a really good game, by the way. It's just shouldn't be in this category, but wouldn't be surprised if Dave the Diver winds up winning just to throw it all in everybody's face.
Yeah.
So they made the mistake, but it's also like the most known out of the ones on here, I think, aside from maybe Sea of Stars. So yeah. Best debut indie game: Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. Pizza Tower is like on my list of I need to go play that before we get to the end of the we make the decisions. I've heard a lot of great things about it. All of these indie games are great. Would be cool if Venba won, but I could definitely see Cocoon winning this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a.
Nope, I don't play any. So again, I just know Pathfinder is cool, and it's not some like JRPG thing or some RPG thing like.
Right. Pathfinder is cool for sure on that. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil for best mobile game. Honkai Star Rail is going to win this, pretty much. I think we don't need to.
Not Jetpack Joyride. That's the real best mobile
definitely,
game.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Let me see which ones maybe we have not. I think that's. Oh, okay. Now we're getting to the actual genre stuff. Best action: Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, which still don't know why it's on here. Ghost Runner 2, still don't know why it's on here. Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2.
I mean, best action game. I can see why Ghost Runner 2 is on there. I mean, I wouldn't. That is an action game for sure.
But see, like I think that Final Fantasy 16 should have been in this category instead of RPG. But that's just me.
I agree. But it's still not a best action game. So
I think Hi-Fi Rush is going to win this.
I actually might have said Armored Core 6.
Oh, you think so? Okay. I know you got a soft spot for Remnant 2 to be winning there.
Yeah, but that's also like that. I mean, that is an action game. That's like, but I would say that's like more of an RPG than like Final Fantasy 16.
Really?
I can deal with like elemental resistances and shit like that. So
Liza P should also be in this category and not in the RPG category, but that's Also,
Well, that's like the weird thing is like how do you classify Dark Souls? Is it an RPG or an action?
I don't see. That's the thing. I don't think Dark Souls games should be like RPGs. But I think also it's because this is more action because this is more like Bloodborne. It's not like Dark Souls so much.
Yo, man,
So
they're the same thing. So, like you have
there's
levels,
like
and you know.
I know, but I'm just best action adventure: Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi, and Zelda. I think Marvel Spider-Man 2 could win this one.
I think it'll be Zelda. I think that'll be like because it ain't gonna win Game of the Year. I don't think so. That'll be
No,
its
definitely not.
consolation prize.
Scott says that Hello Kitty is going to slay the competition in the mobile. That'd be interesting. If it
Yeah.
didn't win. Would be interesting if Alan Wake doesn't win this because they're going to be up for so many other awards and then probably not going to win Game of the Year. So, yeah. But this was an interesting category for sure. Got a bunch of the big heavy hitters. Best RPG. I think we pretty much know who's going to win here. But Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. Octopath
Starfield,
2.
right?
Yeah, Octopath 2 not being in here instead of Lies of P is annoying. But Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win this.
I mean,
no doubt.
Aside from your love of Octopath 2, I don't think most people even remember that game came out this year.
It's also because it's a very long game, and I don't begrudge anyone not playing that.
Right.
When we had other games coming out around that time that people probably would have spent less time playing, but definitely a deserving to at least be best RPG in its field or whatever, especially because Final Fantasy 16 should not be in this category. Whatever. Best fighting game: God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6. So which one of the two big ones are gonna win?
It's gonna be a Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I'd say Street Fighter 6. You know.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat's basically doing more of the same, but they have that cool kind of cameo thing.
Right.
But Street Fighter 6 actually did try to like really refine stuff, and
yeah,
even aside from like the actual package, which has like that cool like world tour modes and stuff like that, it just seems like the deeper fighting game.
Yeah, it seems like Street Fighter 6 has been way more talked about than Mortal Kombat 1 for sure. Best family game, which sometimes feels like we're just going to throw a bunch of stuff in here game.
It is in Nintendo category.
Disney Illusion Island, which is actually surprisingly good. Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Mario's probably going to win, but it'd be cool to Pikmin 4 won.
I would say I'd say Mario's going to win, but I might say Sonic would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But again, it's like the Zelda thing for me about best action adventure. Like Mario Wonder is not going to win Game of the Year, so
definitely not. No,
this will be like the consolation for that.
Best sim strategy, which is like the one that seems like they do the least research on sometimes, because like City Skylines 2 was all kinds of a debacle getting released, and that shouldn't be on here. Company of Heroes 3 probably shouldn't be on here either, when there's other strategy games that came out. Advanced Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, which is technically, I guess, a remaster. I don't know if that needs to be on here.
Doesn't matter.
But it's on here. It's City Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. Fire Emblem Engage is probably going to win, I would say.
I guess. Is that a mobile game?
Yeah.
Okay.
What what Fire Emblem Engage is? It's the Fire game that came out at the beginning of this year. I thought you played it and everything.
Oh, that's the. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it slipped my mind completely. I didn't like it, so that's why. I didn't like the story at
probably
all.
why.
So,
yeah, I remember you not liking it. It was interesting because I think it was like very divisive. There's a lot of people that liked it, and then there's a lot of people that felt like you. They're just kind of like, okay, it didn't do much for me.
Yeah, I think Three Houses. Sorry, they did a much better job of limiting what you can do and like having it more focused. Like this is just like we got 20 different character classes. It's the same problem as what is it? What are those printy games?
Oh, Disgaea?
Yeah, it's the same problem as like Disgaea, where you have just 800 different character classes, and it's like, oh my god, I can't keep all this straight.
All right, so here we go. Game of the year, because I gotta get going. Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Legend of Zelda Tears, Super Mario Wonder, Baldur's Gate 3, and Resident Evil 4 Remake. Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win.
Yeah. The only other, I don't think it'll win. The only other game that if it was a different year, should win would be Alan Wake 2. But
yeah,
every other game on that list, is fine, but I wouldn't have it. I'm
Baldur's Gate 3 is the one of the few times where you have the critical and gaming darling all in one. Yeah. And yeah, there's no way that a game that made that much impact and talk this year and all that is not going to win. I'd be super surprised if anything besides that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm just to let y'all know, next week we will have our review of and talk everything about the Game Awards, what was announced and everything else. Really quick, anything you want to see announced or anything?
More of that Tomba game that Limited Run is doing.
Okay. I do like if Gear 6 is going to get announced, I definitely want to see that. So I hope we get some kind of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth like surprise thing, even though they've been in Twitter posts everywhere. They've basically been giving you details about the game constantly. So I don't know what else they could really show, but it'd be cool if we got something. They did give hints about Final Fantasy 16's like DLC today. So I don't know if maybe they perhaps have something to give on that. I'm not sure. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of want to be surprised. I want to have. I hope that there are some surprises that we don't really know that much about, or like a game that we've heard a ton about, but there's been nothing. Like I don't know if there's gonna be a surprise like that, but it'd be cool if we got the surprise of like a Metroid Prime 4 trailer or something.
Yeah, I was just gonna make
something of that level.
Mention that
maybe I don't know if the Elden Ring DLC is going to have a trailer here. I know they said it's farther off, but it doesn't mean that they don't have a trailer to show or something like that. So, all right. Well, enjoy the weekend. Get ready for the next time we see you. The Game Awards will have finished, and we'll know who won all the stuff. We'll give you thoughts on the show and all that and all of that. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all of those things. And we'll see you next week, everybody.
Later.
Bye.